8.6 and 8.7. Legislation assembly and PRRD is 8.7. Okay, so public hearing none, delegations.
Recommendation of council hears a delegation from Darren Cornish.
Can I get a second? I'll second. All in favor? Come on up.
Where do I stand? Anywhere?
Anywhere, you can actually sit right there if you want.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter.
The reason I'm here is about the medical or non-medical marijuana license. I know you guys can't give me an approval letter until it's legalized, but from what I've been reading and understanding with the new laws and everything, we can send out the application to the government for the license, and then once they get the application, they contact you guys to see if
Support it?
if you will support me on it, yeah. And that's what I'm wondering. Or like, and if I can get any information so I can fall in your guidelines for the business, the store, and all that. Because I got all the federal information through the government, but now just the municipality, like how you guys want things set up.
Chris?
Yeah, thank you. It's actually timely, I guess, that you're here tonight, Karen. We've got the draft policy for the that approval letter that you're talking about on the agenda here tonight.
Oh,
And
perfect.
then also the business license bylaw as well. So we're hoping if council's okay with what's being proposed, that the pieces should be in place for that by the middle of September. So a month ahead of the federal legalization deadline.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Any other questions?
Nope, that's about it. Yes.
Where were you planning on?
I
Can you
was-
tell us a little bit more?
I was talking to Gary Landry. His building there where Papa Don's is does split in half, and it's a total separate entity from there. And according to what I've read, as long as it's totally separate, I can't have no food, water, like anything in the in the non-medical marijuana store. But as long as it's a separate entity from the other side, it's, from what I understand, it is okay. And I would like to build one across the street from it in future once we get up enough revenue, but we don't have the money. What's that?
It'd have to be on a commercial lot.
We'd have to rezone the property I already own, yes.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you. Do you guys have any questions out there in the gallery?
You bet. We are also in the process of applying for the cannabis license. Our biggest concern right now is that we have heard that you were looking at a $5,000 business license.
5210.
We are curious, what is
We
going on
haven't
with that?
even discussed any business licenses.
Because like right now it's $7,500 to apply for it. If we're approved, it's another $1,500. Plus, we're looking at the renovations, like to get it up and going, because it can't be part of any other entity, like you said. And we have no idea yet as to what kind of product we're selling, how much it's gonna, where we're getting it from even. And we're just, I mean, we're looking at $20,000 just to get up and running. If that was what your business license was looking at going to be. See, with the liquor store, we pay a percentage of our sales.
Okay.
So, for example, like last year we paid $1,400 for that year to the Liquor Control Board to have that license. I guess we're here just to, we're curious
So
as to
you're
how
willing
much.
to pay us a percentage?
I guess we just were wondering if, I guess $5,000 was thrown out there and we find that really steep. And every municipality that we have checked with is like all over the place. Vernon's looking at $2,500. Some places in Squamish were, $1,500. Have you guys discussed a price on that or anything yet? Because that's a real big.
It says on energetic city of Port St. John, that TUS is gonna charge between 5 and 10,000.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dawson is 2,500, Fort St. John is
Where's
2,500.
that? I've never even discussed it.
No, it's on there.
Yes, I actually had a
I
copy.
can show you.
Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. That, I believe, was a newspaper article,
Yeah.
that was that a discussion with Austin? No, that must have been, the gentleman from the paper there, but they.
I photocopied it, Lorraine, I have it in my
5 to
office.
10,000, we're just showing.
Yeah. So you guys were posted in there 5 to 10,000 and the bylaws for Dawson are can't be reviewed by a school, a college, a hospital, or a park.
Right.
So they've set their bylaws quite strict, right?
Strict.
With a $2,500 license fee. There's no bylaws as of yet in Pouce Coupe, but they did say between $5,000 to $10,000 you were looking at.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. Also on page 14, no, that's on 14 of the agenda.
Sorry, 81.
81 of the agenda.
61.
61 of the agenda. That is the administration's initial proposal to council in that draft cannabis bylaw as well.
Yeah.
So
That was your,
the $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is just a proposal we're going to discuss.
Right, so we're here just to kind of see where your guys' thought processes are now. That's a big hunk of cash to come up with for a town of 780 people.
792.
It's
I'm
When you
Are we at 1,000 people? The more people, the better.
Yeah,
But this is where we are coming from. That's a big hunk of cash for us to come up
that's
with.
just like the.
For projected sales, we don't even know what they'll be.
Okay, we'll take that into consideration.
And
And the highway bypasses, anything,
Nothing's wrong.
nothing. But that scares a person too.
Yeah.
It'd fly maybe now, but on the highway bypass is pretty small.
It hasn't,
And we'll all be other.
they keep telling me it's $100 million to change it, so,
so there's no bylaws as to how many you're allowing in the municipality either then?
no, we haven't even discussed any of that yet.
So any idea when we would have an idea on that?
Should be probably middle of September.
If, yeah, depending on whether or not council's okay with most of the policy tonight, and then the first draft of that bylaw, we're in good shape to be fully ready to go middle of September.
Because everything's so up in the air right now that we don't even know what products we're able, like, we don't know how they're going to be selling it to us, to sell to the public. We have no idea if it's in a
Nothing's
jar,
been posted yet.
if, like, we have no idea, right?
Or-
Yeah, so that's why we're trying to project before we send our application in what we're looking at, and if $5,000 was, I guess what it is, we're wondering if your $5,000 will be every year? Or is it a
It would be
one-time cost?
It would be a yearly license that you would have to pay.
I'm just, you know as much about your stuff, we know as much, again, because we're just going through it. So you're asking questions, we can't answer because we haven't even discussed it. So people have posted stuff and it seriously hasn't been here.
Yeah.
You're asking if it's gonna be every year?
Yes, most likely it
Yeah.
will be every year, Michelle.
I know Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, theirs is 20,000 for the initial fee and then 10,000 every year for renewal.
But they have a population of
Yeah.
over 900.
Where we're getting at is the legalization of cannabis, October 17th. But it's gonna be legal for recreational pot, but where people are gonna buy this legal cannabis
Yeah.
is unknown to us because the government wants to have these grow places from seed to bud. You know
Right.
what I mean? Everybody's still,
But we just got approval this week to actually send the applications in. And that's where we can, like, it's a $7,500 charge for us, whether
Just
we're
trying to do
approved or
our
not.
homework, because it's non-refundable, the 75.
Right?
Once you
Whether,
send it in,
yeah,
it's gone.
it's, and then if it was 5,000 over and above that. Plus, what I'm wondering is, will you also have your own business license? Like, we pay a license for the water store, the liquor store, and the convenience store. Will that be, is your 5,000 considered that business license? Do you know what I mean?
The
Will we
pop
be
will
looking at
be a
more?
separate one
Yeah.
to your other businesses.
Right.
And I recommend you open up Dairy Queen.
I'd love to.
Dairy Queen off the side of it.
Oh, yeah. But so that's why we're here. We're just curious if that has been any kind of discussion yet.
Okay.
Because it really affects our application, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
If I may, Your Worship, maybe while the item's sort of fresh in everybody's mind right now, part of the logic and for the benefit of the members of the gallery too, for administration's proposal of 5,000 to sort of open the discussion there, was what we're expecting is the administrative burden to come in, you know, as a result of these retail franchises opening up in town. I'm fully expecting a flurry of various bylaw complaints once that becomes legal. Everything from, you know, John and Bob are continuously smoking next door to me while my kids are trying to play in the backyard. You gotta do something about it. To people smoking downtown and, you know, various other things. So we're anticipating, you know, an uplift in the workload here at town hall as a result of that. And the mechanism to sort of cover that would be to build it into the business license.
Understand?
Yep.
So, we're gonna move on to the next application. There's 6.2 recommendation.
Recommend the council hear the delegation from Peace Energy.
Come on up, Greg and Joanne, please. He's going on here. You're just gonna sit?
Thank you for your time tonight, Mayor and Council. So Peace Energy Cooperative, what we wanted to talk to you about is what can solar do for you as a municipality. And I brought some information which I passed around for what we did for Hudson's Hope. And I think it's worked out very well for them. And just in general, how does the net meter program work? So I just got a quick PowerPoint and we'll do some questions. It's very quick. If you have need more information afterwards, please let me know. We can schedule another meeting or other things. So in general, Peace Energy Cooperative, we've been around since 2003. We organized and developed the first wind park on Bear Mountain. That was the first wind park in BC. We're a for-profit cooperative with a number of member investors, just under 500 now, 408. And we want to make renewable energy available and affordable to most people, businesses, municipalities, and governments wherever we can. So of course we're based in the area and we hope to work more in the area than outside it, but you know, we'll do where we need to go. So Bear Mountain Wind Park, 34 turbines, 102 megawatts, 35,000 homes, energy produced each year. We formed a partnership with Aeolus Wind Power, who also brought in Alta Gas, and we're the first project in BC. So the reason to go solar now. So solar, of course, the nice thing, wind is great on a utility scale. Solar never used to be that way because it was always so expensive, but it's turning around. Solar has now come down in price about 80% in the last 5 or 6 years. It's solid state electronics. It's very, very robust. It has 25-year warranties. It's just a really good fit now for a lot of places, especially when you start smaller and work up. You know, so BC has a net meter program, which I'll talk about later. So it's you can fight climate change because the power you produce on this building would power this building while the lights are on. Then BC Hydro has this program called net metering, where you can save those extra kilowatt hours you create and use them later. We have a great resource here. A lot of people think we have such long winters, but we also have excellent summers, right? Right from March through to September, October, we have these long days with good sun. And even in the winter, most of the time we have medium snow. We get Chinooks that can melt off the snow, and we get great sun most of the time, you know, compared to like the interior where you might have a lot of overcast skies. The cost, as I mentioned, has dropped about 80%, and we have great warranties, and the whole process for BC Hydro has been streamlined with net metering. And with smart meters, it works really well because the smart meters keep track of power in both directions. So I was just actually talking to somebody from Alberta, and the process in other jurisdictions is very different from here. BC Hydro is late to come on board with net metering, but it's really worked out well. They've got a great process and a great system set up. It's good. In general, solar is just taking off. As many solar panels are produced, are used every year. China doesn't even really export solar anymore. They use it all internally. In the first 3 months this year, China installed 650,000 solar panels per day in the first 3 months. So it's just a massive undertaking. Because it works so well, you put it on, it makes power. And our growth here in BC, we don't have a lot of, in the States they have a lot of incentive from the government. There's tax incentive, there's grants, etc. BC, we don't have that. Our graph still looks the same because people are just realizing it really makes sense. The costs have come down and it's going to keep working for a long time. GridTime BC, it's a very easy application for a small system on a house. It's one page. For systems you have, whether it be three-phase, they'll be a little bit different, a little more intense, but definitely something we can work with and did work with in Hudson's Hope. We're basically taking power that we produce on that building or beside it on the ground mount and putting it through your existing electrical panels to provide power for the building immediately, and or put it out to the grid to be used as elsewhere and as credits with BC Hydro. If you need power, it automatically comes from the grid. It's all seamless. There's nothing to do or to change or track. Your smart meter tracks both directions, and you only pay the difference between each billing period. If you have credits, then they use the credits against the power you've used that month, and it balances out, and you either owe a little bit or you have more credits that carry over to the next month. So basic grid tie system, your solar array feeds into your inverter. In this case, it's a little red inverter there. That changes the power. Solar array basically puts out DC power, which is like batteries. The inverter changes it to AC power, which we use in our buildings. It's all direct. That goes to your loads, and then your smart meter up top keeps track of the inflow, outflow to the grid. And this gives you a sense, this graph here gives you a sense of an average energy production for this area. And I say about 10% of the power is produced in the winter. So one of the big questions, of course, is what happens in winter? They get covered with snow. Well, sometimes they get covered with snow, but sometimes it melts off, sometimes it's blown off. If it's very thin, the light will still shine through, they'll make some power, and it produces just a sheen of water that helps the snow slide off. But 90% of our power is made in the summer. So we don't worry too much about winter, we just let it produce whatever it can. And in the summer we make that bulk of power, and that's when we put it into the grid as a credit. Some of the systems we've installed in the area, of course, our office in Dawson Creek. If you ever want to see a system, I can show you our system in the office. Solar is very adaptable. We can fit it on different buildings, different sizes, different shapes. There's lots of new technology that we can use, and it could be on a ground mount as well. We've done a number of them on screw piles, but you can also put them on concrete blocks like we did at Hudson Solar. Excuse me. This is an example of Hudson's Hope, which is in your flyer there as well. What we shoot for is called net zero. So if you have a metered account, that account will use a certain number of kilowatt hours per year, and we try and displace that same amount of kilowatt hours per year. And you may have heard that BC Hydro came out with some legislation, or they're trying to change some legislation earlier this year, where they applied to the BCUC to change what size solar system you can put on for the net metering program. So for net metering, you can go between 0 and 100 kilowatts on that one system per metered account. And what was happening is they had some people who were applying for systems that were much, much larger than what they're using for power in order to make money from it and not just displace their power. So BC Hydro applied to BCUC and said, can we limit this? And so far they're saying yes. To us, that doesn't make a difference because we're always trying for that net zero. We're not trying to produce 20, 30, 40 times what we use on that account. So in this case, the district office, that's a 53 kilowatt system that should displace about 80% of the power in an average year. The visitor center, we have about 50% displacement. The curling club, we should hit about 100% displacement. So that's fantastic. We can get net zero. And what we shoot for as well is we want to make solar interactive with the public. And so Hudson's Hope was very good at taking a leadership role. They allowed us to do something like this where we put solar on the wall. And that solar array is not going to make as much power as an optimal array like this. But the good thing is that people see it now. Instead of it just being up on a roof, this has a huge solar array on top of the roof here, but you can't see any of that from the ground. But we want people to be able to see the solar, and we were able to integrate it with the building lines to make it interesting as well. Other buildings, of course, the big shop, the big arena. Now you notice here there's a lot of roof space available. Again, we can only go with a certain size array under the net meter program to a maximum. So we did the maximum, and we're going to produce about 50%, 52% of the power for that building. If they ever change the program, we could always add to that building as well. Ground mount arrays, this is at the new lagoons, and it's a good system. So one of the things we can do is we can monitor the systems as well. And by doing that, we find out if the array is working correctly, if it's all making power, if there's any issues for maintenance, especially on these large arrays. You don't want to find out after a while that your inverter was totally shut down 3 months ago and now it's coming into fall and you haven't made any power. So it's really good to have the monitoring available. It's not something you have to look at all the time. but just checking in now and again, and usually that's something that we can do as well as part of our work. So the benefits, so solar displaces the energy you're using at that time. So as the price of power goes up with BC Hydro or with any utility, that power you're saving by producing it yourself is actually worth more. So every time the power goes up, you're actually saving more money every year. In this case, Hudson's Hope is saving about 65% of their overall power use in the district. That'll be about $74,000 and saving about $3 million over 30 years. Now, of course, that $3 million is based on a lot of projections, right? We're saying power might increase by this percent or that percent, and a lot of things going into that. But roughly, it's just generally, since you turned on, it's saving a lot of energy. And in fact, it's saving money. The lifespan of the solar arrays, they're solid state electronics. They have warranties for 25 years on the panels, 10 to 25 years on the components. They're probably going to last at least 30 to 50 years, if not more. So it's really a long term. It can be either an investment that the district looks at or the village looks at as a budgetary thing, or it could be something that you look at as getting a grant as well. So it provides a lot of community pride. We did an grand opening out there, and people were very happy. And people were very happy about the system and what we've done out there. And what we also promised is local training and hiring. So we hired 7 high school students out there to help install it. We got a lot of training and experience with working on the system. So what we can do is we can assist. We can do a community scan for you, which actually looks at each metered account that you have and gives you the information you need to make a decision on if you want to go solar. If you do, which buildings would be priority, and maybe some of them fit with grant applications, others don't, or you just want to plan for budgeting. And there's always, like I say, there's that net zero. That's the perfect array that we can put up, but you can always start smaller too. If you want to start with a smaller system and build onto it year over year, you can do that too. So that's a community scan that we can do for you, and we actually should pass this around. When we first started, when I first came on a couple of years ago, we actually did a report for the village, for the museum, and we did a quick report for the village for the museum as we were doing having the roof redone. We said, well, we can put solar up there when you're doing this, but it was not chosen to go with at that time. The other document they're passing around is a community scan that we did for the city of Dawson Creek, and that's kind of what we're thinking of that we could do for you, where we prioritize each building to show the benefits that we can do. So then, yeah, part of our job is to make solar easy for you as a customer. If you decide to move forward, we can apply to BC Hydro, we can do all the engineering work and make sure that everything's working properly. One other thing there is the public engagement. So a big part of our job in Hudson's Hope as well was the marketing, with the website, with the public meetings. We held 3 or 4 public meetings and getting the public engaged in what we were doing so they understood it and so that they could see the benefits for the district. Solar, immediately you get about 4 to 5% return on your solar based on today's prices. So the prices come very in line with actual investments now. A lot of people, on a personal level, a lot of people have money sitting in investments and not making that much. So it can be really positive to make your own power and have an investment that's paying forward over time. Municipal grants, that's something that has to be researched, and you may probably know more about that than I do. Reduce or eliminate electrical bills for the long term. And the operation and maintenance for solar is really low. There's very little to go wrong. With the monitoring, you can tell if there's an issue. With Hudson's Hope, we do have a couple of small components that are having an issue. We know exactly what they are. We contact the manufacturer, they're giving us warranty on them. So it's really easy now. Reduces your carbon footprint. I'm not sure if you have a carbon fund. Maybe not. So reducing your carbon footprint can be positive financially as well as just a good thing to do. And it creates a lot of community pride. And, yeah. So next steps, if you wanted to look at going solar, researching the financing options internally, deciding if you wanted to do budgetary within your budget each year or over the next number of years, or look at grant funding, looking at hiring Peace Energy Cooperative to perform a community scan and decide which buildings would work best for that, and how much should be budgeted, how it will affect your electrical bills and what the savings might be. And if you really want us to, we can ask, we can do a more in-depth presentation on how the whole grid tie works. We're actually doing one tomorrow night in Dawson Creek at the college in the Energy House. And we're going to do 2 hour seminar free. And all of our seminars so far have been free. Public's welcome. Usually we get about 20 to 25 people. And we get a lot of good questions. That's my quick overview of solar. If you have any questions.
Was that 74,000 that it cost Hudson Hope, or can you give us any ballpark?
No, so we helped them get a grant. They got a grant from the federal gas tax fund of $1.35 million. And so all of their solar was paid for with this grant. So they paid nothing for the solar. So every year, the energy that they're saving, we're saying that energy has a value of about $74,000. So right off the bat, they're keeping that money in their pockets instead. And as the price of electricity from BC Hydro goes up, the value of that goes up as well to the energy they're self-producing.
Is that grant still available?
The fund is out there. I'm not sure what the grants look like, and kind of, yeah, you need to have the information to be able to go through and get the grant or propose to them what you want to do. And that's what we did for them, is we did a scan initially and said, you can put on these buildings, this much solar, it'll cost about this much, it'll save about this much, and that was the basis for the grant application.
Is there a cost for the scan?
Yeah, we're a for-profit cooperative, so we charge, really depend on how many buildings, how complicated each building is or each location. It's usually between $500 and $1,000 per location. So it would depend. What we do first is sit down with your business manager, and we would look at what buildings are available or what locations are available. Some of them, like Dawson Creek had 72 metered accounts. So right off the top, we kicked about a third of them out, and we kicked another third out for other reasons. And some of them just aren't really applicable, some of them aren't good for solar, there's just a number of different reasons. And then some of them obviously have great potential and have real priority for us.
Yeah, thanks Greg for your presentation. So I'm taking a look at my notes that I did when I was in Hudson Hope for this anniversary thing in this grand opening. $4.5 billion for the federal government low carbon economy fund federal program. That's what you mentioned back then, right?
Yeah.
In Hudson Hope for the solar. Is that available? Can you tell us if that's available?
I'm not actually sure if that's available yet. I know it's coming, like they've announced it, but
Right, that was the thing that I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Is it now available or it's not, still not, you don't know?
I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
Got some more research we have to do on that. But
Have you heard anything positive about that, or?
sorry, nothing yet. No.
Okay.
No. It's like, I don't know down, but Alberta, they came up with a program this last year, and they announced it about 8 months in advance before they actually came up with the policy and money.
So Mayor Johansson mentioned to me that the 1.35 million grant that she received for the federal gas tax,
Yeah.
she went to you guys and she says, that's what we want to spend, not a cent more, and that's exactly what you guys did. So I
Yeah.
want to mention that to council, that hopefully we can do the same thing.
Yeah, no, that would be fantastic, yeah.
Can residents apply for a grant too for the houses?
In BC, there are no grants at this time. What you do save is you don't have to pay any PSD, so you save like 7% on a complete solar system. You can apply as a net meter account at any time. You don't have to wait for anything.
How much is it to do a resident?
Residents anywhere from probably $10,000 to $30,000, depending on your system. But a lot of people look at just at the energy saved, but you still have the asset value as well, because when you go to sell a property, it's still making you power, it's still saving money. So there's been a couple of studies that have shown the asset value carries through pretty much.
Okay. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, appreciate it.
Greg, did you want this spot?
I come to that. Oh, actually, so that one's in, actually you can have that one, but I'll get the city one.
You guys don't have to stay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Unfinished business arising from minutes. New business.
Recommend the council receive the request from the Goose Museum for donation to the annual harvest tea and bake sale for discussion.
Second. Where's our invite?
Oh,
She
great.
does.
Great, where's our, where's council's in?
It's coming. It's in May.
You don't need an invite.
Okay, so what did we give them last year, Chris?
Thank you, Your Worship.
We donated for
Mrs.
that.
Coach? I don't remember.
We gave them $100. We just gave them cash to go and buy whatever they needed
Yeah,
to do their,
that's right.
that's what we've done for the last few years.
I'll
That
make a
was
motion
great.
we
Come
can say.
see me.
She's not there.
I don't, but I'll come see you if you want.
You know what I'm, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we donate $100.
I'll second.
Just come?
No. That's what we did last year and the year before. We gave them $100 cash and they went and bought,
Whatever.
they put together whatever they wanted to.
They bought what?
They used it towards whatever they needed to for the,
Bought a basket.
Yeah.
Oh.
right? That's what you guys did.
Yeah, well, we also used it towards things we needed for the
Yeah.
Harvest Tea.
And that was enough.
Oh, yeah, no, that was great. $100.
So, what did you say? You made a motion?
Yes.
I second.
All in favor? Okay. 8.2 recommendation. Council approved Bridget Williams for 1 year to sit on the Piscobee Library Board as referred to in the attached letter.
No.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 8.3 recommendation.
The council reviewed a request for a letter of support to a Sudbury retreat to lease a small parcel of land for the BC Forest Lands, Natural Operations and Rural Development.
I'll second that motion.
And discussion? I have a discussion. First of all, I need to know if Tom's Lake agrees with this before we,
Or people on that road.
or the people, like the people up there, before we decide to, write any letters or anything like that for this. And anybody else? Because we've got this over here, and this ain't happening over there. So I want a letter to find out, maybe ask Leonard, Chris?
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just going to suggest that, would you like administration to draft up a letter to Director Liebert and get his thoughts on this facility?
Yeah, and if his people up there agree with it or don't agree with it, then if they do, well, then council will bring it back and do a thing. Anybody else? Nope, that's it.
Fine, do table this then?
Yeah, we table it. Okay, 8.4 recommendation.
Recommend that council receive the invitation from LNG Canada and Coastal GasLink to the reception at UBCM 2018 to be held on September 10, 2018 at 8 p.m.
So,
What day of the week is the 10th?
can I get a second? Any discussion? Bart?
September 10th, what day is that?
It's while you're at UBC.
Yeah, what
It's
day?
the Monday.
It's the
I
Monday?
believe.
Okay, I would like to attend that,
Also,
please.
myself.
I'm already attending it, am I not, Sandy?
I have your dad as a attendant. Attend it?
No.
Maybe.
Yes, put them down.
8 p.m.? Yes.
Here?
And then this is no cost to the village, right?
This is part of UBCM.
Clarifying that. Okay, all in favor? 8.5 recommendation.
Recommend the council receive the draft policy 8.4 cannabis license support letters as information.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Colleen?
Just hang on. So it's just asking us to set policies up?
Yes. Right?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I can speak to it at any point if council wants. So as we know, part of the provincial licensing process, The license applicant is going to require a letter of support from the municipality along with the license application, or the literature I've read right now says the province will not entertain the application or approving it. So what this policy attempts to do is set out some of the criteria that administration thought council would find relevant in getting to a point where council could support a motion to approve a letter of support for a particular applicant. So we start off basically that the property must be in a commercial zone. We're suggesting 200 meters from the school property, and that would be anywhere from the school property as zoned on the zoning map. Public consultation from the applicant for the public for a period of 4 weeks, which would also include 2 open houses by the applicant, a security plan for the location, a plan outlining the hours of operation, and then sort of put a catch-all line in there that any other criteria that council might deem relevant for that particular applicant. And then lastly, the license producers must also notify the village within 30 days after the issuance of the license itself. So just getting back to us and letting us know whether or not it was successful.
Okay. Any questions? Tony?
So where are these guidelines coming from?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. The province issued a document a few weeks ago with some of these suggestions in them, and then other ones are suggestions I thought council would feel are relevant. Again, you know, the sort of catch-all line there, any other criteria that council deems relevant is nowhere in the provincial guidelines. But I thought that was something good to have in case, you know, a particular applicant had something that fell outside of the scope, wanted to do something creative and then, you know, interesting with their franchise, their business, but that sort of fell outside of the scope of the document right now.
Colleen?
So the public consultation that must be held for 4 weeks, what do you mean by that? Is it a public consultation that's held at the village office? Is it the public, like, what exactly does that mean?
By the applicant.
The applicant.
So the applicant has to hold an open house in the store that's not open yet? Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. No, what we were thinking there was, you know, council's going to approve these, but they're not council's business at the end of the day. So what I was attempting to do there was to put the consultation piece back on the applicant to entertain any questions from the public. We would then be there, somebody to take minutes and then, you know, concerns from the public, but that really this wasn't, you know, it's not like one of our plans or something where we're pushing this out, we're saying, here's what council's looking at doing. So this is an opportunity for members of the public who might be right next door to one of these licensed or potential licensed facilities to come in and discuss with the applicant, you know, what do you intend to do? What are your hours of operations? Do you have a security plan? Is there going to be people loitering around your facility all day? And really have that two-way dialogue between the business themselves and the people that might be affected around them.
This, any other criteria council deems relevant, I think is very important because I think we're all on a learning curve, new to the municipalities and to the applicants.
Would it be possible just to say something really quick? Sorry, when we applied for our liquor license, the liquor guidelines are very, very strict. We're only allowed to be open from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I'm believing that this will be exactly the same way. We can't be open random hours, there'll be no loitering.
Oh, I know Tim will win it.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, to have a access meeting for people at our expense, I don't understand why you would want to do that.
Yeah, Bart.
Sorry, Michelle, that's fine for you, but the next person may not see it that same way. So we have to have things in black and white on paper.
I think it's just so to give the public notice of what's going on.
Yeah.
So how would a business go about doing that though? Like, because when we bought the liquor license, we came in front of council and we got approval to move it the 2 blocks. We didn't have to put any kind of public output unless you guys have done that on our behalf. I'm not aware that that was necessary.
Chris?
Yep, thank you, Worship. I guess what I'd say to that is different facility, different product, uncharted territory for everyone involved.
100%.
So
And-
when would your recommendations be for them to public consultation? In
So-
the newspaper? Do they actually have to meet with people? Or do they put it in the newspaper?
You could.
Our flyer?
Yeah, I was thinking the community center, your worship, so what council could do, we could take this policy back for, and really it's just for info and discussion here at this point to kind of have this dialogue, but, you know, a possible option is as part of the application process, the village offers the community center, you know, for 2 public open houses, which would then meet that criteria, so that at that point, the applicant has a public off-site facility to go and have that and open it up and have that dialogue. But yeah, likely, you know. through
Because I want to be
face-to-face
able to work with the businesses, and I want their input too also on it,
Mhm.
so that we can work with them. So we also need their input on what we're going to do.
I just public consultation for 4 weeks. So you start a public consultation, so you have an open letter stating if somebody wants to talk to you, this is the phone number and address, is that what you mean? Or is this, so before anybody can get a letter of support, all of these criteria have to be met?
In theory, yes, Councillor Evans, but technically, the way this is written as a policy, council does have the option to waive any line in there, or the entire policy, as a matter of fact. So if somebody comes to council with, you know, a proposal and council's immediately okay with it, council can choose to waive the conditions of this policy and approve the letter of
I'm
of support
thinking
there.
that to save them money, to put a thing in the newspaper.
Mhm.
If you have any questions, concerns, contact whatever business it is. Right? Bart?
People don't read newspapers nowadays.
Well, Facebook
Yeah.
or, Sandy's.
So public consultation, could we not interpret that the same way we did the corner?
Mhm.
Putting it out there on paper to people, if you have any questions. Doesn't mean they have to be engaged for the full 4 weeks. It just means you're sending some sort of notification out to them, saying that you can get a hold of us if you have any questions, or like you did with the church or the old library and the road closure.
How do you guys feel about that?
It's just the timeline, it's,
4 weeks.
and the $7,500, we say if we send that in now and something comes up where it's denied, we're still up to $7,500.
Well, didn't you say
That's
the
what we're-
7,500, their application had to wait?
The quicker the better, I'm saying that.
Just has to go in our paper.
Of that, on the exact.
I thought you said that earlier.
Well,
So were
They
you
just told us
suggesting that we go on our Facebook page and propose that we are interested in opening a cannabis store? If you have any questions, call me.
Well,
But-
that's what I would.
But do I have to do that for 4 weeks, and when do I start that?
You set the 4-week period.
Right, but when? Like, do I start tomorrow? Do I start middle of September? Like, it's,
Yeah, but we can't do an approval letter until it's legal,
right.
so.
But we have the option of sending in the application now,
Yeah.
right? And so this is what, like, you had already, when we came to you previously, you told us there probably wouldn't be an issue getting a letter when it was legal. I have not heard anything about having to propose it to the public, because it's posted everywhere that you can
That's what
enter.
we need to know.
Right,
Right.
right. But how do I go about doing that? Because Scoopy doesn't have a newspaper.
They do, we have a village voice,
We have the village voice.
So,
we have a newspaper right there.
so is it possible for us, any applicants, just going on that, or what? I don't know.
Yeah, you can put some kind of piece in there. Or we have a member right there of the newspaper.
Okay.
But if you guys, we gotta maybe have a special meeting so that they can actually have if they have to get it out.
Yeah, that may be.
Well, I believe we want to know, we want to know if there's any reaction or any concerns or whatever. By then, just going directly to the applicant, we will not know, right?
We
So
won't know. So
that
now-
doesn't work for us. I mean, the thing of it is, I think we've got to do something similar to what we did with the church and what we did with the blocking off that street. If we send something out, then we're going to get.
Not
But
for
it's
4
not
weeks, so
us.
it can't be for 4 weeks. That's a long time for them.
Yeah, but they can.
We can adjust that, but what I'm getting at is we get some kind of feedback there, right?
Yeah.
Well, and
And everybody knows then that they want to open up cannabis.
out.
So,
And maybe that's something to consider in the context of the business license application as well, folks. I mean, we're proposing a significant number there. Again, my initial thoughts with this was that it be the responsibility of the applicant.
Okay, I'm gonna
To your
motion on
point,
the floor.
Councillor Lloyd, we're sort of experts in that public consultation piece too, and the village could do that.
So we're gonna put a motion on the floor that Sandy will put out, some kind of flyer to the residents to see if they're for cannabis or if they're not for cannabis.
yeah, because
Not
not
too
stating any
applicants.
business name though.
Yeah, no stating any business name, because we have 3 people here that are interested in it, and we want them to be able to get their application in as quick as we possibly can.
So basically the flyer would say, are you interested in having a retail cannabis store in Ooskoopy?
Or a couple,
Or a couple.
because we got 2 businesses right here, right?
Okay. But it's just one general question.
Hmm.
And how long do you allow them, like, to answer or whatever? Like, is it usually a month or something like that, or how does that work?
2 weeks, I
2
would say.
weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks is fine.
2 weeks.
So are you recommending that we hold off for 2 weeks? When is the next newsletter out, do you know?
It's not going in the newsletter, it's gonna be on a piece of paper, put in
We'll do a
everybody's.
mail,
Oh,
we'll
okay.
do a mail
And
drop.
everybody will get it in their mailbox tomorrow.
Okay.
But if Sandy types it all up.
So,
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
so would you like us to hold off for a certain date then? Is what we're wondering.
I would say 2 weeks.
I think 2 weeks is enough, really, required. So, well,
Because we haven't had time
check
to
the mail.
and input, people's input, 2 weeks. is
But Bart,
kind of-
there's so many people out there, like the information is, our information that we're getting is as vague as yours, right?
Chris?
I think that, you know, perhaps a note of caution to council on this too, is that we're asking the community, generally speaking, right now, do you support cannabis retail sales in Bruce? I think that's likely to come back a yes. What the intent of this line was to really narrow it down to the specific focus area where the retail store was gonna be located.
Well, we know that they can't be near schools, they can't be near parks, we know that. You can't smoke it in the parks, you can't smoke it on the baseball diamonds, it's all that is.
Yeah, but people don't know that, you might.
Well, the signs say,
And
no
so-
smoking.
and
Your
to-
sign will not,
It doesn't say no cannabis.
there's no smoking.
It's legal now.
No smoking.
But that too, your worship, I mean, Mr. Cornish, for example, his proposal was to have a residential area rezoned for a retail cannabis license. Without this in there, we don't know whether or not the adjacent residential properties would even be okay with having that next door to their house.
I actually went around to all the places right around there and the businesses across the streets and talked to all the business owners. And everyone I talked to was more than happy with it at the time.
Okay,
But the
so
question
what do you wanna
question
do?
becomes, your worship, you know, what do we have to document that we've taken that step with the community?
I don't think we have to, I think they have to. The onus is on them to prove that the people around them are okay with that. That's not our job.
Should we have a signed petition from everyone, like how far away should we canvass to check?
The area that's gonna cause the traffic, the area that's gonna cause the issue.
I say a letter for.
Do you have adequate parking there?
Yeah, if I build where I want to, I have more than 20 parking spots I can put in with a 1,500 square foot store.
But your initial opening, the sign.
That's what I'm still talking with Gary Landry about that, about stripping
Okay,
the
one right
grass
now
off
we're
the
talking about is the
outside.
one that you're doing in the garage. That's the one we're doing right now.
The one, yeah, right there, then I'm just talking with Gary about stripping the lawn off and turning that into a parking lot on the far side. That
That's
way
good.
it gives us more parking for that business and even Papa Don's.
Yeah. Okay. So,
I have a motion.
you have the motion for the letter to be sent out?
I think the letter though needs to have more than that.
Yeah, what do you want?
I think the letter saying that the property can't be within 200 meters, I think the property has to be zoned for commercial, you know, stating some of the facts that are on here. And, you know, the people can't just open up their resident house, right? They're not gonna think that there's a crack shack opening up beside them. These are official businesses that are opening under government and federal regulation.
And they're on commercial land.
You know, because if you just send a letter, you're gonna have recreational marijuana, well, sure, you know, in my house. But these are businesses.
All you asked me to say was, do residents support retail cannabis
Do
sales?
residents support our federally and municipally government regulated recreational facility, you know, legislated facility
On commercial land,
on commercial land?
not near school or parks.
I think to make sure that people understand that these are federally regulated.
Is it 200 meters from, like it's from 200 meters away from the school property? Is that from all parks too, 200 meters? Okay, that's what it's, thank you.
You're safe today. But after that, like if you went and decided to buy Notes' property,
No. No, there ain't too many properties available in Coos on a or on a commercial zone property that you
there's
can.
cookies.
Yeah, but the whole upstairs is rented out to live-in people, which wouldn't pass through the government inspection.
Oh, you knock them out and take the,
Yeah.
to do it as office.
Yeah.
Can I have a second, sir?
Second.
All in favor? So 2 weeks, that letter is,
I'm gonna draft this and send it to everybody tomorrow.
okay,
Okay?
okay.
Are you putting a please respond by date on there?
No, I'm sending it to you guys to see if
Oh.
it's, and yes, there will be a please respond by.
Excellent.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Sandy. 8.6 Legislative Assembly. That is our new thing. It's a letter?
Is there anything else you require from us before we go? Okay. Thank you guys for your time.
Yeah.
Where's the letter for?
So basically, this was an invitation for UDCM, so basically what I want to know is if any of you want to attend this.
I'm not going.
So,
Probably should, eh?
do you want to?
Yes, we will go. Me, Andre, and Barb will go.
Okay, but which one are you going to?
All of them? I don't have to.
I'm gonna go downloading into local communities, please. Oh, that's in the afternoon.
Speculation tax.
I'm not
No,
gonna
housing,
hear.
mental, and health, and that one.
They're all in the afternoon on the Friday.
That's 4:30.
Do it Thursday, isn't it?
On Friday, September 14th. Oh, no.
13th, the Thursday.
I'll go to the housing and mental health one. Might find some churches.
I'll go to downloading
Okay.
local
Guess
communities.
I'll go to speculation then.
Okay.
Well, let's go to one of them.
Want any of it?
How's that? That what you want to do?
Okay.
Individual, okay.
Okay, where are we? Okay, 8.7, the PRRD. Chris, can you speak on that one?
Yeah.
Oh, I need a seconder first though.
Second.
Okay, go.
Thank you. So the PRRD has sent us an agency referral form based on their, the new zoning bylaws that they're attempting to pass with respect to cannabis licensing as well. So my understanding is the PRRD is looking to initially prohibit retail cannabis sales in the various electoral areas. I believe it's gone through second reading, and then they're at the point now where they're looking for the municipalities' input here.
Andre, can you give us an update on what they?
What, in regards to cannabis?
You guys did
Second reading.
Yeah, it's basically shut down and everything until they, I sent a copy, did I send a copy to you on this, Chris?
Yeah, this, no, Councilor Lefebvre, what you had sent me was the second reading of the bylaw. This document's technically after the fact. So after that second reading passed, they issued this document here looking for consultation. But the second reading of the bylaw is contained in here as well.
It was only just released, this one. This one comes through the PRD has, sorry, can I speak? The PRD has a system where when they go to change something in the PRD, they send out a referral notice to all the municipalities involved. And if you have any objections, they ask for your objections to come back by a certain date. It's kind of a form thing that they
Chris has
send
my
out.
objections.
That doesn't help me.
So basically, it says their purpose to reduce cannabis-related business use and related definition to all 4 PRD zoning bylaws to prohibit the use in all zones. That's what they're saying here, that's what we went to second. And it's the reason why is the unknown, that's what it comes down to. And that's what they approved. So the intent of the prohibition is to require all proposed cannabis-related business to rezone the proposed property. So they're basically shutting it all down. That's, and I mean, that's what I talked to Chris about that. That's, you know, that's what the PRD is doing. That's what they're doing as a second.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Can't, that is crazy.
I don't totally agree with this, but that's what they did.
So, what about the medical, businesses out there already that are growing it? Are they grandfathered in? Or they just got
They never
it?
even discussed that. I'm sorry, they didn't discuss that.
So they're just gonna stop being able to grow?
Yeah, I don't think there are any medical,
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
There is?
Yes.
okay, well, if there is, it didn't come up.
When he says shut it down, I'm thinking, medical marijuana is probably already federally
Regulated,
regulated.
I don't think so.
You know what I mean?
It's not applicable.
But these people with the mom and pops,
This is recreational, this is not medical.
okay,
I think that's the difference.
okay, but they're saying cannabis.
They just say cannabis, it doesn't say medical.
Cannabis-related business use.
Yeah.
I'm opposed to this.
Say the business is, so medical, business is where you purchase it, so medical is where you're getting prescription and.
That's right, but that's a
I think
business.
But that's still a business.
I would agree with that, your worship. The medical retail sales are still prescription sales, no different
Exactly,
than
not
no different than a
business.
pharmacy. No, they would be a business concept.
Yeah, they're a business.
They're a business, but what I'm saying is that they never mentioned that this would be applicable to medical marijuana or cannabis, right? They-
But it's still a business, so
Sorry.
But
What is
then,
the point of the letter?
Now they want us
to support this?
they want us to do our objections or if we agree with it or.
So they want us to support this?
they want to say no cannabis
At all.
related businesses in any of the rural areas.
I was just, can we not send back to them and ask for clarification if this is for cultivation, if this is for medical, and if this is for retail? Can we ask for clarification?
I think so.
Did you get clarification on that other letter that Andre sent you? Did you get any?
On the bylaw, your worship, yeah, I had a conversation with the CAO over at the regional district there, Sean.
And
And he confirmed that yes, the intent of this bylaw is to prohibit cannabis-related businesses. And then, should those applications come through, they would be considered on a case-by-case basis under a zoning amendment or, a zoning variance as well. That's a lengthy process. But this was what was on the table at this point. I think this document asks for a response by August 31st, your worship. I mean, if council's clear on what you would like to say to the PRD at this point, we can send that back. But I think maybe the best course of action here at this point is to actually ask the PRD to delay that decision timeline and come to council with either staff or members of the PRD board who've sort of championed this change, do a delegation to council and explain this in full detail before council can really make a decision on it.
I have an issue if somebody has a cannabis related business that they've already jumped through the hoops, whether medical marijuana.
Councilor Smith, if I could say something, there's backup for this, right? So B2A, I'm reading it right here, it says the federal government has plans to pass legislation which will legalize the recreational use of cannabis. This is pertaining to recreational cannabis. It does not, I don't believe it
Medical
applies to
recreational
medical.
license, it says.
but your zoning amendment bylaw
Non-medical.
says cannabis-related
But
businesses.
here it's saying, but further on, it says non-medical cannabis retail license.
You
Correct.
have mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
It doesn't apply to medical.
The report singles out retail, the language in the bylaw, I would actually
Okay,
concur
I
with
just want
council.
clarification. Can we
Yeah,
get some
and
You need
that's
clarification,
it, yeah.
because I'll be honest, I've never mentioned in the PRD, any meetings I've been at, that medical marijuana is part of this, okay?
So can we get some
Never
clarification on that, Sandy? And we would appreciate the dates to be extended or for a regional district to come to our meeting and address our concerns.
Because we want clarification if they classify medical as business, or if it's just medical.
Don't you just make a phone call to Sean and verify? And then send us an email.
Well, he can send us an email.
Send us an email. Because I'll guarantee you it's not medical. I'm almost positive.
If the-
So,
I-
But
I-
the wording,
Yeah,
It's the wording always that concerns us, right?
Yeah, okay,
So,
but there's backup, so, yeah, okay.
okay, can you do that? Okay, all in favor of that? Did you put your hand up there? Correspondence 9.1. Does anybody see anything in here? There was one that I got. Okay, well, I'll just do your turn. Is there any letters anybody wants to look at? Discuss. What's that one? This one, Chris, BCWF, we need to do a letter on that. The Toronto mayor is stating that we need gun control.
Which one is it?
Page 33.
9.3?
33.
I know, but 9.3.
Oh, where's the thing?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no.
So, I agree. I'll second that motion.
Any discussion on that one? All in favor? And then the Houston office, there's a letter to Farnsworth about the provincial caribou recovery program. We need to
Did we send that?
support.
I thought we did send it.
Did we
I thought
send
it
that?
to the last council meeting?
Yeah.
We've sent one on this before, I know that, but
Barely,
is this specific?
Pretty sure we
I can speak to that.
Chris?
If you'd like, your worship, thank you. There's starting to be multiple letters from various municipalities coming out around this, and that's what we're starting to see. The early adopters, so to speak, to the, that became aware of what was happening or what was proposed to happen with caribou legislation, sent out some letters, and now that it's kind of.
This one's from the regional district
Yeah.
of Balkley, the
We
Chaco,
sent one
and Houston.
to Tom Ridge, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, so can we just copy and do one for them?
I was, thank you, Your Worship. I was on a conference call there last week about this too, and it was a little bit of a disturbing conference call. The individual who's, the federal director for the Caribou Recovery Program basically stated on that call that consultation with municipalities for his job is not required.
Nice.
Yeah. So, the reason for these letters going around is quite literally because of that. The province and the feds are discussing how they're going to implement the caribou recovery strategy, and the grassroots government organizations, being municipalities, are not even being invited to the
Yeah,
table
they're not
to
supposed to.
discuss what's happening.
Okay. So nobody sees anything else? So 10 resolutions, none bylaws. 11.1 recommendation,
recommend the council give first reading to business licensing bylaw number 1014/2018.
Second.
That's not the cannabis one in there? It is, yeah.
Should we not look at this $5,000 retail cost? Now, it was interesting that she said that her business license was a percentage of her sales for alcohol
To the liquor board.
to the liquor board.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so,
How do you keep track of what
Well-
they sell?
that's her to bring to us.
Yeah, but seriously.
But $5,000, okay, do we want to discuss that?
Yes, I think 5,000 is a little much, but we both agreed.
I would like to make a recommendation of 2,500. If Fort St. John and Dawson Creek, if that's where they're at, I believe that 2,500, then nobody could really come back on us and say, hey, well, why are you 2,500?
Your property's cheap, but your business license is too much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a point of clarification, Fort St. John set theirs at the standard retail business license, it's 150.
It's 150 Fort St. John?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, when I talked to Mayor,
Yeah, I spoke to CAO Hunter.
she told me, she says, what's the difference between that cannabis store and a shoe store? So I knew they would be lower.
Yeah, so what is Dawson's, Chris, again?
I believe 2,500, Your Worship, although I
Okay.
don't know if that's received final reading and final approval yet. But
I think
that was
2,500.
that was the number I heard as well. And really, yeah, I think with this item too, it's easy to look at the other municipalities and say, well, we'll just do what everybody else is doing. But really, you know, looking at the discussion we just had on policy, for example, we're now potentially, you know, the taxpayer staff and us are gonna have to be involved in this community consultation process. There's an upfront cost there. You know, myself and Blair are the bylaw officers for the community, so when something goes sideways with one of these retail outlets, we're gonna be fielding the calls. So I think it's
You
an
send them to the
important,
RCMP?
you know, it's an important consideration for council to make sure that, you know, a business, a license, or a license holder is not generating business dollars, business revenue at the expense of the taxpayers in general, who are essentially covering that cost to do the other administration. and bylaw work.
We want business here, right? So that's my take. Colleen, I'm first.
I hear what you're saying, and I think we need to work at that. Like you said, you know, you guys should not be the ones that are mediating between these companies, you know, and for them to get a license. I don't believe that should be the process. And I think we're all gonna have to, you know, as we go, we're gonna have to change things. I don't think it's your job, and I don't think it should ever be your job to do this, but I think as we go, because it's just an empty, open black hole.
Chris?
Oh, sorry, Your Worship.
Oh, sure.
Devil's advocate. Look at the time you've spent on bylaw enforcement, you know what I mean, on individual properties where it's not even business. I'm talking about your time, your man hours. So yes, I think that will be time consuming at the beginning, but I think $5,000 is too much.
Yeah, because I think opening businesses, like we want businesses here.
So with that proposal, Your Worship, would it be 5,000 all across those categories?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can finish.
Or 2,500, sorry.
We have a motion for
Bring it
that?
back.
Can we get a motion to change that?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to change it from 5,000 to 25,000.
I'll
But
second.
if we agree with it all, Chris, why can't we, if we agree with the 2,500 and we agree with everything else in it, why can't we just adopt it as it is? Because can't that 2,500 be an amendment?
Yeah,
Right now?
Yeah, council has the ability then to pass 3 readings as amended, if that's, well, you can certainly discuss other changes as well. I mean, as we mentioned in the report, one of the things we looked at in this bylaw was an adjustment to all of the business license costs. We hadn't touched them since 1994. You know, so we applied a standard 2% inflationary increase to those, and in front of council.
How much did the business license go up from the cost before to this new bylaw? Because I'm not just looking at the cannabis one, I'm looking at I'm 114. I'm looking at other, how much increase, like a lot of them is $120.
The general store?
General store, convenience store, restaurants, 75.
They were 60. The,
They were 60 before? Oh,
They were 90, I believe, those, I have the old bylaw here.
Oh, okay, I'm just curious, because
The
we're gonna
ones that
put
were
this out,
90 were 60.
and they're all gonna be jumping on us.
Generally speaking, what we did was we increased everything by 50% from what it was before. And again, the previous bylaw, your worship, again, was 1994, so we've had 24, 25 years since then, with no adjustments to those costs. And actually, it was just a straight 2% without accounting for compounding or anything like
yeah,
that.
I'm fine with all those ones, but there's just the cannabis one, I'd like to see $2,500.
Okay, I tried my devil's
Someone
advocate.
second your motion.
I did.
Okay, thank you.
So now that we changed these 2,500, we all agree with everything, Chris, can we just do an amendment? And say, and do the reading?
If you're open to that, your worship?
I'll make the motion that we do the first reading with the amendment for cannabis 2,500
Bylaw number.
bylaw number 1014, 2018.
No second.
All in favor?
And council give a second reading for the business licensing bylaw number 1014/2018 with the amended changes.
All in favor?
Second.
Oh, can I get a seconder? Sorry.
Right.
All in favor?
The council did a third reading of business license bylaw number 1014/2018 with the amendment of 2,500 for cannabis.
I'll second.
All in favor? Okay. That happened. C-A-O. Oh, Mr. Wordy. This is Skylar's big.
He doesn't have any paper around him, so I'm
No.
gonna say it's gonna be really short.
Thank you, your worship. Yeah, I intended to keep this one short. If council's okay, I'll reserve CAO comments for when we go back here. That's it.
You've already read your report, so.
Can I feel your forehead?
Yeah.
He's in holiday mode. He's getting excited, he's eating.
Okay. So then, action items. They're getting down, and I'm liking that.
So you never heard anything on childcare, Chris?
Salted childcare, these pieces. No.
That Monday? So you're gonna hit that as soon as you get back from holidays?
Yeah.
Okay. And property maintenance bylaw. Chris?
Thank you, worship. Yeah, I want to thank council for your time here for that meeting yesterday to discuss it. We will likely have the first draft of the property maintenance bylaw on the first agenda for September.
September, isn't it? And then the capital special projects. That sign coming up the hill, the museum sign, it's getting pretty patterned too, so that should be changed. Colleen?
Just, do we have a date as to when the skateboard park?
It's gonna be started?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Evans. It's literally happening right now. Canadian Ramp Company is building the ramps as we speak. Urban Systems is searching for a contractor that can do the flat work for us. It's looking like the installation is all gonna start around the third week of September.
but there's nothing else here. Have you seen everything? And when does the sidewalk start?
Thank you, spoke to Josh at Urban Systems on a 3-item conference call, let him know we were looking for that. We're hoping to do some of that study work over the winter here.
Okay.
That's basically going to involve just looking at the setbacks that are available and whether or not the project's feasible, and then what we do with the ditches, if and when the sidewalk work can be done.
Colleen? Number 19, just wondering if we have any plans or if we can talk about plans eventually for that. After, yeah, to maybe increase the fire line to the monitors over there. Just saying. Chris?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. That is essentially a done deal, as you know, the mayor and I signed the paperwork yesterday. So yeah, we can technically start talking about it. It closes on August 31st. I'd probably recommend just waiting until September 5th and we've got the deed and the whole bit, but definitely.
You plug your ears.
Definitely something that will propose some options in the 2019 to 2023 budget.
Okay. Ready to take it.
Council calendar.
Councilors' calendars. Sandy, on the September 7th, I have an NDIT call at 10 a.m., which I'll be coming into the village office to do.
That's right.
That's the volunteer.
So our D is on,
23rd,
and the 6th is the one I'm going to?
September, yeah, September 6th, I believe so.
Yes.
Sandy, you just mentioned, Your Worship, that September 7th date there was the volunteer dinner.
It's now council.
Yeah, looks like our attendance was super low on that, so.
It's a bad time.
We've got the pieces in place for it, so if council's interested in doing that again in the spring, it'd be
I
much,
think
much easier.
May it was a good, like our barbecue, our birthday thing was a hit.
Mhm.
So maybe we can do something like
Good
that.
May next year.
Saturday, 23rd of August, I have a few meeting. It's awesome. September,
And then I'm going on holidays.
Me too.
So that's all at the bottom of August.
In September, I don't know. Oh, September, so I'm coming back.
I have everyone's holiday days right.
Huh?
At the bottom of August, is everyone's holiday days correct now?
It's Barb's, you and Barb are gonna hold the lights on.
Yep, we're gonna close up the office and go
What do
party.
you do? What do you do?
Huh?
Yes, sorry, I didn't see that. That's too bad.
Is it right up?
There.
Okay.
So then reports, one council and report. I like two. Yeah. The library, where is it, or?
I guess the letter's been sent and I haven't been notified, so I have no idea.
I heard the walls up and.
So,
You can probably speak on this one.
Appreciate, Colleen wasn't CC'd on any of that?
you guys wrote a letter without my knowledge, sent it, no idea. I wasn't informed, I wasn't told, there wasn't nothing.
What
So-
letter?
Is that the letter about the delegations?
No.
That's
There was a letter,
That's
no,
the
you
old-
wrote a letter and I got it after the fact, when you sent it to everybody. And I was never even notified about it, so I have no idea. You can ask them. I've been admitted.
I don't understand, Colleen. The chair, what?
You guys wrote a letter to, and it's on your emails, that you and Chris sent to Cindy and Courtney regarding the space and the use of space and what you're doing with the library. And you sent a letter regarding who's paying for what and why, and you never even discussed it with me. Never consulted me, never nothing, and sent it.
Okay,
What okay, what email? Do you have it on your phone?
I would have to know the
The date.
topic that I'm drawing the blank here.
It's after the fact that I sent the letter to you guys, and I read the letter during council. You responded back to that letter without even talking to me about it.
You read what letter over council?
From after our meeting with the school board, I brought a letter here and read it to council as to we're accepting the proposal of giving 50% of the space. And they had questions, and you guys answered those questions in a letter back to them without telling me or having anything to do with me.
You didn't email her a copy of it?
I'm not sure, your worship, I don't even know
You
the
didn't even
topic.
discuss it
I don't
with
even
me.
know the
Had
topic of this
nothing.
email, I can't comment to something.
So you can ask them, because I've been in it.
Does anybody know how the library is?
Anything that I have to do with the
She
library, I
works.
sent to you.
No, you have not.
Yes, I have.
That
Tell
letter,
her.
and I got after the fact.
It was mailed, so I'm not too sure what
I thought I was the liaison, I thought it was supposed to go through me, but obviously not.
Well, whatever, okay. Councillor Johnstone, I was
I have
asking.
a question about the library.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you.
Okay,
Well, Mike came in and some other school district people came in, and it all went very, very quickly. I can't believe how quickly and how smoothly it went. Courtney, I can't believe how well she planned the moving of everything. In fact, like we measured, her and I measured everything, and it's just gone amazingly well. The walls of the classroom is actually, well, I'm not working this week, but it looks like it's almost ready to go. Those guys came in, and Carl, the head carpenter, said, well, it's going to be done in 4 days. I didn't believe it. But it's truly amazing how fast they went. We are having to, we're giving a lot of books because there's not a lot of, we don't have as much room anymore. Tom's Lake is opening a little library. So they're coming in and they're getting some of the older books, which they don't mind, they just want books. So, and you know, we have to, I think we're losing a computer and things like this, but
Are you
it's
on the
just,
board not run?
no, I work there.
Oh, you work there?
I know, I wasn't gonna go to work, I'm just working there 3 days a week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so, yeah, it was quite amazing how fast it went, you know. But I really give credit to Courtney, like she had it all planned out and she drew up plans, and she's one of the only people that have been there right from the beginning.
Yeah.
She helped design the library, like they asked her what colors she wanted, where she wanted things, and it was just really amazing. I couldn't believe it, how smoothly it went.
Good, thank you.
I just want to say to Councillor Evans, when you do go back to the library board, if they have any added expenses or something, because their budget did not include any of this for the last year, and
But School District 59 is paying for it.
I know, but the library board may have extra expenses, i.e.
Storage.
if they got a
We
storage
did a storage locker.
facility in Dawson Creek, they gotta drive back and forth, gas, you know, that, I'm sure, bring it back to council and we'll help any way we can. I think that's everyone's sentiment, that we have not turned any child away from Pooskoopi School.
The one thing that my understanding is that even the guys who are working there, it is supposed to be a temporary,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah.
Hopefully 2 years and less.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Johnstone.
I have nothing to report.
Councillor Smith.
Yes, I attended the Fall Fair Parade, and I went to the Encana barbecue. Now, I've seen it on the news with the Mirror that the medical bus is now going to include Pooskoopi.
Yeah. Sandy, did you put that on?
And they're going to come out. Now, I have a couple questions with that. I think it's an awesome thing that our residents will be picked up at the community center if they've got to go to Prince George or Vancouver or whatever. But when we initially talked to Northern Health, we were looking at getting some kind of transit system out here so that people could go to doctor's appointments and pick up some groceries. And
That's still happening.
that's still happening.
That's over and above.
That's
yeah.
still in the
Okay.
That's beside that, yeah, Mike, yeah. you got it.
Okay, I just wanted to ask about
They're
that.
waiting to make the announcement before they even say it was on the QT we were told, so again, this is not to go out to media yet, but yeah.
The camera's right there, and that camera goes on the media, okay?
Well, true, but what I'm saying is it's not announced yet. It's not
Okay.
announced yet, okay?
It's still in the works.
It's in the works. Because it's something we took up in Fort Nelson, right?
Yes,
Councilor Smith. You done?
yes.
Councilor Dubois.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on July 20th, I attended the Geo Park anniversary in Tumble Ridge. This is a PRD event paid by them. July 21st, I attended Swan Lake 100-year anniversary with Mayor McKinney. July 26th, PRD meeting in Tupper. July 27th, met with the Pouce Coupe Food Bank Board in Allister and the Pouce Coupe Church, and also signed checks on behalf of the village. But also most of the board members were there and discussed how the new food bank facilities would work. And
Did you guys talk to Court?
yes, Corey was discussed actually Chris spoke to Corey and got information from Corey as to what exactly he's offering. And then I saw Chris Monday, following Monday, I believe, or no, Thursday, Friday. Anyway.
Did anybody, did Chris and Sucre get together and have an actual conversation?
Whitney they did, yes, over and above.
So Corey, you and Sucre did?
Not yet, because Corey's on hold for 3 weeks, and he's just back now, right? So we will do that, but with Chris giving the information he gave me when he was out working out the park, I went back to Sucre, and she's really happy with what was proposed, right? I know exactly what, because we didn't know when we went on Friday with the board as to what exactly the right meant. Now I know exactly what the right meant, like the right area. Right, and so I was explaining to Sucre, and she's very happy with it. She's over and above, pleased with that. Okay, so, but again, Corey and us will have a meeting. July 28th, attended a park day at Spencer Tuck Park for Mobley Lake. Again, this is a PRD event covered by them. Went to 4 o'clock. August 8th, attended the Canada Barbecue with Mayor Kennedy and Councilor Smith. August 9th, PRD in Dawson Creek. August 10th, Fall Fair Parade with Mayor McKennedy and Councilor Smith. August 14th, Village Office meeting, which was yesterday, in regards to property maintenance standards. And we discussed about the cold floor now, so I don't need to bring that up. Thank you. That's my report.
So yes, it was on July 21st. And then I did all the suppers. And then I went to the Ministry of Transportation meeting on Monday with Blair. And the contract will be out September 2019. And there's 26 people voting, or applying for the job. What else was there? And then I went to go supper. And the parade. And we won second. That was such an awesome job the museum did.
Can I just interject something from the museum? The kids that you picked to ride the float were awesome. When we went down by the hospital and they were passing out candy, there was all these seniors sitting in chairs. They went along and give them, you know what I mean?
They were really
They
good kids.
courteous.
Oh, man.
They threw a lot of candy out, big candles,
We were
but,
okay with that.
but wherever they found these kids, they were
Great.
awesome.
I'll
You
mention
know,
that.
and very, very, I'm really happy.
Actually, Chris, can we actually get a thank you for those kids? Maybe a thank you
We
letter
definitely want to do that.
or something for those kids for, you know.
Oh,
The one guy lost his water gun.
Oh, yeah, the
Yeah,
water guns out the
underneath the
window.
tray.
That was so
Or underneath the tire, I mean. And
that was the best.
yeah, so. There is no meeting